This is a really good time to take a trip like this. We've all been cooped up in the house, and it's just a really good time in our lives to get out on these short adventures.
A one-tank adventure is when you fill up your gas tank, you go do something awesome, and you get back home before the gas light comes on. It's about a perspective shift. You know, we're so focused on like these big, far-flung journeys, but there's so much right here, right under our noses, that we tend to overlook because we're so used to it. And I think the idea of a one-tank adventure is to look with new eyes at the familiar.
We live in Bisbee, Arizona. It's a small town in southern Arizona.
We're the southernmost mile-high city in America.
Just to the north of us, about 45 minutes away, is a mountain range called the Dragoons.
It's a region known as Cochise Stronghold because in the 1800s, when there was so much conflict between the Western migration of the European immigrants and the native peoples who called this their home, there was just so much conflict, and Chief Cochise led his people into this area called the Stronghold and lived there, dwelled there, and defended their heritage and their well-being from that little corner of our desert for years and years.
One of the things that I like the most about this kind of mini adventure is that it gives you an opportunity to be more comfortable and relaxed and focus more on enjoying the campsite and maybe exploring the surrounding area. We're so lucky to have this place so close to home and to be able to get here so easily.
You know, I don't know that what we did was incredibly adventurous. You know, we weren't being wildly daring or taking any great risks, but it was such an awesome experience to kind of just lean into this lovely little environment, to choose the most perfect campsite, you know, to get it all tweaked and dialed in, put the van in just the right spot, string up the little twinkle lights, and I love bringing a dog. That's my favorite.
So I've spent a big part of my life going on big adventures. But there's a part of me that really yearns for adventure close to home. That's one of the reasons I moved down here to southern Arizona. Was I fell in love with the desert, and because I live down here now, it's in my backyard. I don't have to drive across the country to get to the desert.
I would challenge anybody to push themselves to know their place even closer and more intimately.
And a trip like this is really, it's a great opportunity to do something else that you might be interested in. Say you have another hobby or an interest, like you like to hike, or you're into birds, or you're a runner. In my case, I'm a photographer and a filmmaker. And so even though this is a really short trip, it's a chance for me to maybe try out some new things with my camera or settings or gear or creative ideas. I have a fear that a trip like this isn't going to be perceived as a real adventure. But the way I look at a trip like this is that it's good practice. It keeps you in adventure shape. When I go out on a trip like this, even though it's not far or for a long time, it gives me a chance to make sure that the van is running the way it should be. I might notice any little issues that it has that need to be fixed, or issues with my gear. And by doing that, I can assure that it's going to be ready to go for the next big trip.
I feel like there's something awesome about having like that multi-sport concept rolled into a mini adventure, because it makes it feel richer. You know, if you're just driving out to a campsite and then you're just going to sit there for the rest of the night, that doesn't sound so exciting. But if you're going to drive out to your campsite and you're going to set it up super awesome, and you're going to go for a run, and you're going to hike with your dog, and you're going to shoot some photos and, you know, document some cool new plants, then all of a sudden your trip takes on a new kind of richness. It becomes multidimensional.
You know, there's nothing about this trip that was really that adventurous, but it is a chance to just get out, break your normal routine, and have an experience in the wilderness.
Woohoo!
I feel like it's a reward for hard-earned effort, you know? It's like I put in a lot of hours of work, and I always feel like I have to have things kind of tidied up before I head out on a trip, even if it's a short trip like this. And so it's like a reward, it's like a little treat, it's like a little bonbon after a great dinner, you know?
On this trip, there are two things that I've never done before that I wanted to do. I wanted to make what's called a cinematograph, and we made, you know, a dozen or so cinematographs, and I wanted to give astrophotography a shot. I've never taken pictures of the stars, let alone a time lapse of stars at night, and I was able to do that. The adventure of a trip like this is the challenge of breaking your normal routines. You know, we all live lives that sometimes are really busy, really hectic. We have schedules and obligations and work. And even though we know that these little adventures are close to home and really easy to do, we often don't do them because it's really hard to break out of our normal routines. So the real challenge in a trip like this, and it is a challenge, is how do you break out of your normal routine and carve out this space to create an adventure, as short or simple as it may be, close to home.
It is a beautiful morning.
It is.
You know, when you're traveling, we have these wide eyes and like everything feels new and twinkly and fresh. And that's so different. It has a different kind of patina when you see it all the time. And I think the challenge was to see if I could put myself in that space, that wide-eyed, adventurous space, in a really short period of time. And I feel really successful with it.
Adventure is a state of mind, and it's closer than you might think. I hope that you've really enjoyed this video about our small adventure here in southern Arizona. Come back for more.